Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 2nd of June, now it's almost 12 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update today, in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. Second update will be a little bit late in the afternoon on my Patreon page, in which I will share additional news that will be reported by Russian media, and I will also summarize previous week how it went for our channel, as I usually do on Sundays in program informal talks. Well, that being said, let me take a couple of more minutes and address few issues. First of all, sorry for late update today. Because of some technical problems, I was unable to upload the video earlier. I'm not sure if this video will be uploaded even. That's first topic. Secondly, let me address yesterday's absence of my update. Point is that on Friday, towards the end of update, I did mention that I will have a day off on Saturday, but I do understand that not many of you did watch Friday's update entirely, because quite often my videos are too long and not everyone has that much free time, and that's why I did see questions about why I had no updates yesterday. But it was just my partial day off, because I was still quite active on Telegram all day long, and well, in the future I will try to have at least one day off on Saturdays, so let's see. And one more topic, by the way, probably all of you are well informed that YouTube administration deleted the channel of Mike Jones just recently. Earl Grey, that was name of Mike Jones' channel, and after that I guess my channel is only one, at least for now and foreseeable future, which is based in Russia and makes daily updates on news in English language. And because of it, I guess my channel will be deleted next by YouTube administration, even though of course Michael Jones' channel was huge. My channel is tiny in comparison, but still, if YouTube administration receive orders to take down all the Russian channels about news and political commentary, then my channel gonna be next. And to make sure that we are in touch, we will stay in touch, please consider to join my channel to subscribe on my channel on Rumble and on Telegram. And of course I will be immensely grateful if you will consider to subscribe on my Patreon page also. You will see links under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. I don't know how long this channel will stay on YouTube, but we all understand that it's only a matter of time, and they will delete it. That's been said. Let's talk about news now, and I will start with Ukrainian special military operation. RIA Novosti is reporting that head of NGO We Are with Russia, Vladimir Rogov, did make statement that Ukrainian forces basically almost complete their preparation to conduct second wave of counteroffensive, which is not surprising really. We all knew perfectly well that this so-called operational pause on Zaporozhye sector of the front and South Donetsk sector of the front will not last long. Well, point is, when exactly Zelensky's regime will conduct this second wave of offensive, and how. And my reading of picture is that we will see second wave of Ukrainian counteroffensive whenever Ukrainian forces will be ready to conduct mass crossing of Dnieper in Kherson region. I don't know how long it will take for Zelensky's regime preparation, but if they will be ready to conduct mass crossing in coming days or weeks, then exactly simultaneously with this mass crossing, we will probably see activization of Ukrainian brigades on Zaporozhye sector of the front and in South Donetsk sector of the front line. This may happen before NATO summit in Vilnius, which will take place on 11th, 12th June, or after that. But what is most important, before 11th, 12th of June, before NATO summit will take place, we may see provocation from Zelensky's regime in direction of Zaporozhye nuclear power plant and Energodar. That's, in my opinion, most likely to happen. And we do have a quite good reasoning to think so, because as you know, during the previous weeks, Zelensky and his associates very actively were preparing ground in media to conduct provocation in Zaporozhye nuclear power plant and then blame Russia. And by the way, yesterday we did receive information that US did send aircraft, WC-135R aircraft in Europe. This plane is in Eastern Europe now, and by the way, this plane is purposefully built to monitor atmosphere for radioactive, biological or chemical pollution. So because of this development, I mean, this is one more indicator, a significant indicator that Zelensky's regime is planning some huge provocation in direction of Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. And I mean, I don't know what may be done by Moscow to prevent this provocation, but if anything is possible to do, must be done before it's not too late. And I'm afraid this provocation will take place before 11th, 12th June, before NATO summit will begin. And that US as purposefully built plane, whenever provocations Zelensky's regime will conduct, that plane and US side, Washington will, you know, then come up and say that yes, they did find some radioactive, you know, elements in the atmosphere, and they will, you know, act accordingly to a plan that they have. Because it's obvious that Zelensky is not acting alone; he is acting under orders of Washington and London. And the plan itself, this plan of nuclear provocation, according to Vladimir Rogov, for example, was generated by United Kingdom's secret services, maybe MI6. So it's UK's secret services that are, you know, leading this provocation. So I don't know, man, what may Moscow do in this matter, because I mean, if Washington and London want to conduct provocation with nuclear substances, they will do it. Nothing gonna stop them. But point is, why are they doing this? Maybe after Zelensky's regime will conduct this provocation, Washington and London, or even NATO, will, you know, use this provocation as a good enough reason to enter this conflict directly. Maybe that's what we're gonna see, and in that case, I mean, we may end up in nuclear exchange. In that case, situation may deteriorate very rapidly, and the world may end up in nuclear disaster. So it's dangerous development, and I will definitely pay attention to topic of Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. And now, before I will share some other news, let me give you a quick summary on the situation on the front line. Let's start with Kherson region. As you know, during the previous days, Ukrainian forces did manage to establish bridgehead in vicinity of Aleshki, right next to Aleshki settlement, right next to Antonovsky Bridge, on the left bank of the river. Yesterday we had reports from Russian media that Russian forces managed to push back Ukrainian military and establish full control over the so-called bridgehead that Ukrainian side had on the left bank. But yet again, there are some other reports also, including in Russian language, on Russian language pages, that Ukrainian forces did manage to hold on to some positions on the left bank. And same time, there are some other reports that Ukrainian forces also are establishing bridgeheads in vicinity of Golaya Pristan, on islands right up front of Golaya Pristan settlement, and even on the left bank in the forested areas. So, and yes, and they are dispersed in the forested areas, according to some reports. It's hard to tell what is going on in reality, but as I just said a few minutes ago, my reading of big picture is that Zelensky's regime will try to conduct mass crossing of the Dnieper simultaneously with second wave of counteroffensive on Zaporozhye and South Donetsk front line. So if that's the case, then it's not surprising to me personally, at least, that Ukrainian forces are trying to establish themselves on the left bank of the Dnieper River in Kherson region. And in coming days, probably we will see some additional news that Ukrainian forces crossed Dnieper River between Novaya Kakhovka and Aleshki on the left bank, and maybe in vicinity of Novaya Kakhovka also. That is necessary for Zelensky's regime to conduct mass crossing. It's just logical, isn't it? But yet again, I don't think anything extra critical is happening in Kherson region, to be honest, because even though first line of defense of Russian side is damaged and destroyed by flooding waters when Zelensky's regime destroyed Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant, second line of defense and third line of defense of Russian side is there. They are well equipped and well prepared, as I understand, to repel any possible offensive from Ukrainian forces. So I'm 100% sure in no circumstances Zelensky's regime will manage to conduct successful offensive operations in Kherson region and cut land bridge between Crimea and Kherson region, or Crimea and Kherson and Zaporozhye region. It's not happening. And even if Zelensky's regime will, and Ukrainian forces will manage mass crossing of the Dnieper River, they will end up in trap on the left bank. They will just end up in trap. That's what will happen. And the entire that operation will be as suicidal as it was Ukrainian operations during this counteroffensive in the initial stage of this counteroffensive, when Russian side managed to destroy dozens of Ukrainian columns of military vehicles and manpower. So that's when it comes to Kherson region. Of course, Energodar and Zaporozhye nuclear power plant is, under one of the main points of interests, and of course I will share all additional news that I will see about this topic on my Telegram or in my updates. When it comes to Zaporozhye sector of the front, it's operational pause. Ukrainian forces, I guess, are ready to begin second wave of offensive operations. According to many sources, Zelensky's regime did redeploy fresh brigades from strategic reserves in Orekhovo and Gulyai-Polye direction, and reserves were sent to direction of this Remensky ledge also. But yet again, if my reading of big picture is correct, we will see second wave of Ukrainian counteroffensive when simultaneously with mass crossing of the Dnieper River. And I don't think Ukrainian forces are ready right now to conduct this mass crossing of the Dnieper. Excuse me. In the week or 2 weeks time, maybe, but not now. So I don't think in coming days or during the next week, for example, we will see this second wave of Ukrainian counteroffensive. No, but we may definitely see nuclear provocation from Zelensky's regime in direction of Energodar any day now, before NATO summit will take place in Vilnius on 11th, 12th June. Let me continue. Donetsk direction, of course, is always active, and especially Marinka and Avdiivka. But yet again, no one side did manage to achieve any breakthrough in this direction. It's just close range combat all day, every day. When it comes to Bakhmut sector or Artyomovsk sector, during the previous days, as we all know, Ukrainian forces were trying to conduct offensive operations on the flanks of Bakhmut. There were some reports that forward units of Zelensky's regime did manage to enter southern eastern parts of Bakhmut itself. But according to Russian sources, despite all these attempts, Zelensky's regime didn't manage to achieve any crucial or extremely significant success on the Bakhmut Solidar sector of the front. And during the previous 24 hours, it was Russian side that began to conduct some local scale offensive operations to, I guess, to stabilize Frontline. But yet again, if Zelensky's regime is unable to conduct to achieve any success on the Zaporozhye sector or South Donetsk sector of the front line, maybe they will send even more reinforcements in direction of Bakhmut to achieve at least something in this direction, so that they can say during the NATO summit that they have some success. But yet again, right now, even though Zelensky's regime has huge casualties in Bakhmut Solidar direction, they did manage to achieve basically nothing in strategic terms. And when it comes to Seversk direction, it's a heavy fighting, by the way. Russian side did become significantly active in Liman-Yampol direction. Belgorod, of course, also the constantly hot point. And well, maybe we will see even more activization of Russian forces in direction of Seversk, in direction of Liman-Yampol, in attempt to stretch Ukrainian forces in Bakhmut Solidar direction, on Bakhmut Solidar sector, and force Zelensky to redeploy some forces from Bakhmut sector to Seversk sector. And this will ease pressure on Russian forces in Bakhmut Solidar front line. When it comes to Kupiansk direction, it's artillery duels between the sides. And even though recently we did had the information that forward units of Russian forces are just in a kilometer or two from Kupiansk itself, in previous 24 hours or in recent days, we did not see any attempts from Russian side to enter Kupiansk. So I guess Russian forces are preparing ground for large-scale offensive operation in direction of Kupiansk, in direction of Kharkov region. But when it comes to situation right now, we aren't seeing some big-scale clashes between the sides on this sector, but artillery duels are very active. But sides are shelling each other with artillery, in active pace. And by the way, when it comes to Kharkov region, yesterday, day before, informations were spreading in a Russian segment of internet that Zelensky's regime began evacuation of people and manufacturing plants, some businesses from Kharkov which is here, by the way, and Kharkov region. And well, if that's the case, then probably Zelensky's regime from Washington and London did receive some intelligence that Russian side may be planning large-scale offensive operation in direction of Kharkov region. And that can, if that's the case, then, you know, this may explain why Zelensky's regime is evacuating manufacturing plants and businesses and workforce, basically, from Kharkov region to, you know, to western regions of Ukraine, western and central regions of Ukraine, but mainly western regions. So that's also interesting development, and of course, whenever any additional information will be available, I will share it on my Telegram or in other updates. That's when it comes to overall situation on the front line. Let me continue with some other news now, and yes, this is RIA Novosti's report. I did spoke about it, that Russian media did report that Russian forces managed to push back Ukrainian sabotage group on the left bank of the Dnieper River, right next to Antonovsky Bridge. But yet again, there are some other reports that say that some units, some Ukrainian units, still managing to hold on to positions on the left bank. But yet again, nothing critical is happening. That's what is the point. And you know, when I was analyzing situation here, you know, I was thinking maybe Russian side is even specially creating situation when Ukrainian forces are able to cross Dnieper River and enter left bank of the river, because they are basically in the trap. It won't be easy for them to retreat in a fast manner if Russian side will conduct significant offensive operations against Ukrainian forces here. It will be difficult for them to, you know, like cross Dnieper straight away back to right bank. So maybe Russian side is creating some kind of trap in this area. Maybe, I don't know. But to be honest, I don't think anything critical is happening in this sector of the front right now. I truly don't. Let me continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that, yes, that's a report about DPR. Russian forces did manage to repel quite big Ukrainian offensive operation in direction of Artyomovsk, which is Bakhmut. And according to this report here, Ukrainian forces during the previous 24 hours, during this 24 to 48 hours, lost more than 200 soldiers KIA, God knows how many more wounded, 5 tanks, 8 armored personnel carriers, and 10 drones. And this is happening on the flanks of Bakhmut. So as I said, Zelensky's regime once again sacrificing its forces in Bakhmut direction, and this time in attempt to just gain at least anything to say to their Western masters during this NATO summit that, you know, look at it, I mean, we did manage to achieve something. And, you know, just for Zelensky to look a little bit better in eyes of his Western masters, he is sacrificing hundreds and thousands of soldiers of Ukrainian army, mainly forcefully mobilized soldiers, forcefully mobilized reservists. Those criminals, man, those criminals should pay for all the crimes that they committed against not just Russia but also Ukrainian society, because these people, man, these 200 killed Ukrainian soldiers, that they all, majority of them, I'm quite sure, were forcefully mobilized. They didn't want to be on the front line and to fight this war of the Western elites. But, you know, I wonder when Ukrainian society will wake up and start acting against the criminal terrorist regime in Kiev. I mean, how long it will take for Ukrainian society to wake up? Under what kind of propaganda they are, that they are aren't willing to fight for their lives. They are allowing Zelensky's regime to sacrifice tens and hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians for Western geopolitical interests, man. This is crazy what is happening. Let me continue. This is TASS News Agency's report about statements that Medvedev made. Dmitry Medvedev, former Russian president and current deputy chairman of Russian Security Council, and Medvedev did react on statements from Warsaw that Poland wants to host some nuclear weapons, US nuclear weapons, and Medvedev did say that if Washington will deliver nuclear weapons to Poland, it will definitely mean that these weapons will be used, because there is no other reason why should nukes should be deployed in Poland when the US already has nukes in several areas in Europe. So, well, I guess Medvedev is correct. During his statement, I mean, he did spoke quite strong words towards West elites of the Poland. He did say that Polish elites are certified degenerates because they are acting like one. And well, lately Medvedev quite often comes out with strong statements, with strong language towards Western elites, actions of the Western elites, and towards puppets of the Western elites also. And Polish elites definitely are puppets of the true rulers of the Western world. So we may don't like language that Medvedev is using, but substantively, I mean, he is correct when it comes to nukes. I mean, there is no objective reason why Washington should deploy nukes in Poland, because no one is endangering Poland, really. Belarus was under danger from NATO member states, Poland included, and that's why Russia did decide to deploy its tactical nukes in Belarus, to make sure that Poland and Baltic states will stay away from Belarus. But when it comes to Poland itself, Russia never threatened Poland, really. I mean, why? So if Washington will deploy nukes to Poland, those nukes will definitely be used. Probably. Why otherwise Washington will move its nuclear arsenal right next to Russian border? I mean, it's unlogical. Let me continue now, and this is also TASS News Agency's report, according to which Zelensky, this mass murderer and terrorist, did impose sanctions on 190 private persons and 290 businesses, not just in Russia, by the way, but even Georgia become under fire of Zelensky. And he, according to this information, Georgian Airways and head of Georgian Airways are under Ukrainian sanctions now, because Zelensky did not like that Georgian Airways are conducting direct flights between Georgia and Russia. Well, Russian parliament, Russian officials, not Russian, but Georgian officials did react on this development, and head of Georgian parliament did said that it's regrettable that Ukrainian side is taking such a unfriendly steps towards Georgia, and well, and well, according to head of Georgian parliament, this is unjustified move from Ukraine, which is completely true. Which is completely true. And once again, relationships between Georgia and Ukraine are deteriorating, not the first day, and all because Zelensky's regime was basically openly demanding from Georgia to open second front against Russia. And current Georgian government said no. They are acting according to interests of Georgian society, and there is no conflict with anybody in interests of Georgian society. And after refusal of Georgian government to, open second front, after that, not just Zelensky's regime start acting extremely aggressively towards Georgia, but also Western elites, especially USA. And they even tried to conduct regime change just a few months ago in Georgia, or at least to prepare ground for regime change. But yet again, Zelensky and his associates are destroying relationships with, and it will, this will continue. Now is Georgia, in few days, few weeks, few months time, Zelensky will destroy relationship with all the other countries also. Relationships between Ukraine and those countries. It's only a matter of time. And by the way, as I understand, even Western elites are tired with Zelensky by now. Majority of Western elites are just fed up with Zelensky and all this Ukrainian story. They just cannot do nothing at this moment because they are under orders of Washington and London, but it will not take long when Washington and London also will drop Zelensky. It's just a matter of time. Let me continue. And by the way, when it comes to Russian reaction, Russia just don't care about Zelensky whatsoever and his sanctions. Russians don't even react on it because this mass murderer don't deserve any true reactions from top level of Russian officials. Who the hell is Zelensky, man? Just rubbish. Well, let me continue. Garbage, really. Zelensky is a garbage human who's supposed to be in jail for rest of his life, and hopefully he will end up in jail and spend all his life in prison for all the crimes that he committed against Russian society, against Ukrainian society. Let me continue now, and TASS news agency is reporting that associates of Zelensky are complaining that they have not enough weapons to deal with Russian Lancet drones. Probably all of you are familiar with Lancet drones. They are so-called kamikaze drones. They are finding target and then attacking target, destroying themselves and the target also. And I did show on my Telegram channel many dozens and dozens of videos with effective use of Lancet drones. And well, it's not surprising that Zelensky's regime is complaining that they have no means to effectively fight against danger that these drones are posing. But yet again, in coming weeks and months, we will probably see even more Lancet drones on the front line, and not just Lancet drones, but other type of drones also. Because if on initial stages of special military operation, it was clear that Russia was significantly lacking drones, it's 1.5 years passed since the beginning of special military operation, and well, many Russian manufacturing plants are beginning to produce drones in mass scale. including Lancet drones. So I guess in foreseeable future we will see even more drones, Russian drones on the front line, and even more capable ones, because of course all the experience that Russian side gained during this special military operation will be involved during the creation of new types of drones. Let me continue. This is RT's news. RT has a report that top US general not surprised about Ukraine's slow offensive, and basically RT is writing about statements that Mark Milley made US chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff during one of his speeches, and basically what Mark Milley is trying to do is to justify somehow continuation of support of Ukrainian forces despite lack of any significant success on the battlefield by Ukrainian forces. Mark Milley is one of the few, in my reading of this picture, in my understanding, Mark Milley is one of the few officials, high-ranking officials in current administration of US, who is at least time to time are saying very much logical and stuff, and basically he did say true quite a few times, and he was not really received very well in the Western media for exactly that, for saying true. But yet again, he is part of the system, and if he has orders to somehow justify this continuation of deliveries of weapons to Zelensky's regime despite lack of any significant success, if he are forced to justify it, he will justify it, and that's what he's basically doing. And he was asked, by the way, about long-range weapons, ATACMS missiles. Will ATACMS be delivered to Zelensky's regime, or кассетные боеприпасы? I do know this word, but just a sec. Cluster ammunition, yes. And he was asked about cluster ammunition also. Will US deliver these weapons to Zelensky's regime? He did not give a straight answer, but I'm afraid these weapons will be delivered to Zelensky's regime, and maybe already are in Ukraine. Maybe already are in Ukraine. Unfortunately, I don't see any chances of de-escalation of this conflict in foreseeable future. I guess situation will escalate, and relationships between Russia and the US, Russia and the NATO member states will escalate further, well, this will continue as long as until Russia will achieve decisive success on the battlefield. And what will be decisive success? I guess when Russia will establish control over the entire Ukraine, with the exception of western parts of that failed state, then we may see the escalation. But before that, I don't think so, and that's why many people are worrying, including former high-ranking officials all around the world, that this constant escalation may push war towards nuclear disaster, which is, anything is possible at this stage. Let me continue, and well, by the way, I want to share with you this information. Andrew Napolitano, columnist of Washington Times. We all know Andrew Napolitano. Probably many of you and me personally also are subscribed to his channel, Judge Napolitano, Judge and Freedom, and he has a great channel. and he did spoke about U.S. involvement in this conflict in Ukraine, and he did said what I was saying for forever now, that attempts by Washington to be involved in this conflict, not just attempts but involvement, open involvement of Washington in this conflict, is unconstitutional. Really, when it comes to U.S. Constitution, Biden administration had no right to act like it does. And Andrew Napolitano did highlight all the reasons why U.S. involvement in this conflict is illegal from standpoint of U.S. Constitution, and why this involvement supposed to be stopped. And after all, by the way, U.S. already did spend at least $130 billion to prolong this conflict. Just imagine how many good could be done with $113 billion in the US. Just imagine. But, you know, of course, no one gonna listen to Andrew Napolitano in White House. Current administration, I don't think current administration will ever even consider the escalation, unfortunately. And if I'm afraid if in upcoming elections on 2024 neoliberals and neocons will stay in power, I'm afraid the world is basically done. Those criminals will push this world towards nuclear disaster. That's a real possibility in my understanding, because this constant escalation may anytime come out of control, and then any move from anyone's side can trigger extreme escalation and nuclear war. Let me continue. Spain, this is RIA Novosti's report, according to which Spain made decision to deliver to Zelensky's regime some additional 4 Leopard 2 tanks. Well, of course, this Leopard 2 is not gonna make any significant difference on the front lines. They will be burned down in the very first battle that they will end up, probably, like many other Leopard 2 tanks did. And you will see all these pictures and videos of destroyed Leopard tanks. But most important point is that current leadership of Spain is destroying relationships between the countries. That's most sad part of it, because just like 3, 5, 7 years ago, Russia and Spain had great relationships, and now Spain is sending weapons and money to kill Russian citizens. Well, I guess Russian citizens, majority of Russian citizens, won't forgive and won't forget. And yes, there will be payday one day for everyone, and Spain is not exception. Let me continue, and this is RT's report, which is about Rheinmetall, this giant of German industry, giant arms maker. And according to RT's report, in 2022, Rheinmetall received 18% more orders in comparison to previous year, and I guess in 2023 Rheinmetall will make even more money, producing not just tanks or armored personal carriers, but also ammunition and so on. But maybe Rheinmetall is doing okay because of all these new orders on weapons, but at the very same time, thousands and thousands of German businesses are struggling. exactly because of this conflict that was provoked by Western elites, and exactly because of the crazy policies of Berlin, official Berlin. So yes, maybe Rheinmetall is in good place right now, or at least they think so. But in reality, German economy is in a very difficult situation, and to be honest, I would not be surprised if in a few months' time or few years' time we will hear that even Rheinmetall, this giant arms manufacturer, will move its manufacturing capacities from Germany to US, because that's a trend. That's what is happening in Germany. German companies, thousands of German companies are just closing down, and many more are trying to move their manufacturing capacities and their businesses basically outside of Germany, especially in direction of US. And all because energy is too expensive for those companies in Germany, when in US energy is significantly cheaper. Let me continue. How long is this video? Wow. Okay, a few more news and that's it for this update. So RT is reporting that US military veterans tell family members not to enlist. That's a Wall Street Journal's report, by the way. Well, at some sense, this is surprising, probably because US do have a strong military tradition, and this tradition is generational. But maybe lately, I mean, veterans, more and more veterans are realizing that they've been used by elites to conduct, not to protect their fellow citizens and their basic interests, but they've been used by elites for their geopolitical interests, to enrich themselves, to gain more power over the world. And whenever you are realizing that you have been used, of course you will lose steam or willingness to to stay in army, or to recommend joining army to your fellow citizens or to your family members. And by the way, I mean, US Army definitely it's acting like private company, because no one did attack US since the Second World War. No one. But US was involved in dozens and dozens of military conflicts all around the world, and it was US that was attacking. And US Army was basically used as some kind of private company by neocons and US or Western elites. It's true, isn't it? And well, thousands and thousands of US soldiers and officers pay with their lives for geopolitical, not for interests of US citizens, but for geopolitical interests of Western elites. It's just true, isn't it? So I'm not surprising if Pentagon find it difficult to attract more and more people to join army. It's quite logical, really. Let me continue. TASS is reporting that during the previous nights of riots in France, 700 people were arrested by police. Riots are continuing in many cities of France. I did see some videos with burned buildings and cars, and it looks like a war zone, for God's sake. I mean, even though I can understand the frustration of citizens of France, and I can understand that they are not happy with the elites in France. It's totally understandable, but when I see that level of destruction, man, I definitely cannot understand, man. I guess it will be much more effective to do some general strikes all around the France to demand some changes. Probably government or elites will listen in that case more than if you are burning down everything around. But yet again, it's of course everyone is sympathizing with protesters, but actions, I mean, when it comes to actions and this destruction of the private properties and municipal properties even, I mean, it's totally unacceptable. Today even information was reported that family of one of the mayors of one of the cities in France were attacked, and the wife of this mayor was injured, and child, which is crazy, for God's sake, man. I mean, nah. I can understand frustration and protest when it's done properly in civilized manner, but there's no way I'm gonna support destruction of cities and businesses of very same ordinary people. It's wrong, man. And of course, no one gonna listen to these protesters. It's counterproductive. That's why I'm saying it's counterproductive. If you make some strike, nationwide strike, you may force elites to listen. But when you are acting in destructive way, no one gonna listen to you. Even if you are 100% right in your anger and in your demands. Let me continue. And by the way, great news for Russian-Cuban relationships. Yesterday, first direct flight did take place from Russia, between Russia and Cuba. And direct flights will be conducted now on weekly basis. First flight was from Moscow to, if I'm not mistaken, from Moscow to Varadero, this extremely nice place in Cuba. And well, this kind of flights will take place on regular basis, on weekly basis. There will be few flights, and hopefully thousands and thousands of Russian tourists will visit Cuba, and it will be win-win situation for both sides. And then more people will visit Cuba, cheaper tickets will become, and one day even maybe we will manage to afford tickets and to fly to Cuba, and why not? We will definitely fly to Havana. We have relatives there, we have family members in Cuba, so I'm always supportive of Cuba and the Cuban society. So and this is last news for today. Russia's unemployment drops to all-time low, up to 3.2% in May, which is once again highlights that despite all this extreme pressure from the West, from the Western elites, and despite all these sanctions, Russian economy is managing to deal with difficulties, and well, unemployment rate is truly quite low, really. So yes, that's one more indicator that economy in Russia, despite some difficulties, still are managing to be to stay on its foot and support society and the state. this is it for now. This is it for now. One more long update. But yet again, I hope you will find this video interesting, and if so, please hit that like button and leave some commentary about any topic you like. Recently, I did notice significant drop in viewership, and maybe that's due to pressure from algorithm. Maybe even subscribers are not seeing my updates on when they are opening YouTube, and well, to make sure that we will somehow manage to go through this pressure of algorithm, you know, videos do need more likes and comments. That's it really. And if you can, please just share links to my videos with your friends on Telegram, Twitter, Facebook, or any other platform that you are active on. And if you think this channel is interesting and deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You will see links under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. I wish you a great day, and yes, take care.